I don't think that it's safe to relax so much.
Crime happens, murders happen, robberies happen, break-ins happen.
I could just walk down the streets at 2 a.m. and everything would be fine.
Japan is definitely not crime-free.
Hello and welcome. This is JQNA Season 1, Episode 5, Watch Your Back. I'm your host, Catherine. Is Japan safe? It's a question that everyone who moves to Japan will ask themselves at least once, and one that they'll be asked by family and friends at least 1,000,000 times before they move, and sometimes even after. Of course, in today's day and age, we can answer this question with facts, statistics, analysis, and all that other good stuff that goes into determining whether or not a place is safe, the crime rate, so on and so forth, tell us that the answer to the question is yes. Japan is safe. Crime rates here are low. But what if there's more to it than that? How do people feel about living in Japan? How safe do they feel? Do they feel as though they are safe at all? That's the question that we're asking in today's podcast. Based on your experience, do you feel as though Japan is safe? As most of you know by now, I've spent a great deal of time in Japan, and I haven't just been stuck in one part of the country either. I've been in Okinawa, I've lived in a few different parts of Okinawa, and then I came here to Yamaguchi Prefecture. I spend a lot of time in Hiroshima. I also have spent some time in Tokyo. And although all of those places are very different, they're very far from each other and they are very diverse, one thing I can say with a great deal of confidence is that Japan, in my opinion, is safe. Of course, it's important to understand that the term safety is one that can be defined differently based on the background that people come from. Someone who comes from a small town that does not experience much crime in the United States or in Canada or wherever else may not feel like Japan is much safer than someone like myself who came from a city where you didn't go grocery shopping at night because there's a good chance you'd get mugged. For me, I define safety not based on where I came from, but based on the likelihood that you're going to experience a problem on the average day. Most people who live in Japan do not experience a problem such as some type of crime or what have you on the average day. It's just not part of everyday life here like it is in other places. So, for example, you don't have to worry about taking a wrong turn and ending up in a bad part of town where you're much more likely to be a victim of crime. And you don't have to worry about separating the cash you have on you or even carrying cash at all because someone might steal your purse or your wallet. You don't even have to worry about going out, even as a woman, at night. All of these things were major concerns, not only in my hometown, but even in the places that I've traveled to during my time in the United States. But they're just not a major issue here. It's not something that you have to be overly concerned about. And it's not something that you have to be overly aware of. But there is a distinction here, and I think it's very important to point out. Notice that I said it's not something you have to be overly concerned with, and it's not something you have to be overly aware of. The word overly is very strategically placed there. There are a lot of people who come to Japan understanding that Japan is a safe place because it is, statistically. The numbers say that it is a safe place. And then what they do is they throw all caution to the wind. And it's right about there where things become problematic for them. Because although Japan is safe, and although you don't have to worry about those things that you might have to worry about in your home country, it's not to say that Japan is 100% safe 100% crime-free, or that you shouldn't do anything in order to ensure your safety. Don't get me wrong, I stand by everything I've said about being able to do things like walk around at night as a woman by yourself and be okay, but that doesn't mean that you should be completely careless. I think that you need to always take steps to ensure that you are safe to a certain degree so that you don't end up becoming a victim. If you are living in, planning to live in, or just traveling to Japan, I will include some information in the show notes for this episode about how you can stay safe and things that have worked for me in the past. Stay tuned till the end of the episode and you can find a link for the show notes. Now let's hear what everyone else has to say.
Yes, if you just stay at the right places, Japan is safe. I mean, of course, if you start dealing with people that are kind of shady, you may put yourself in trouble, but generally I would say it's safe. I mean, I don't think I can think of many urban places outside of Japan where I could just walk down the streets at 2 a.m. and everything would be fine. For some reason here, I can't do that. Let's say I go out for a drink and I don't want to stay at the same place until the first drink in the morning. I can just leave the place at 2 or 3 a.m., just walk around for 2 hours and catch the first train. And that's totally fine. Even for women, I think. I don't think I've heard many women having problems with that either. So yes, I would say that Japan is fairly safe.
In a word, yes, I think Japan is safe. Although I think it's getting more and more like the West, so I don't think that it's safe to relax so much. I think the Japanese still don't have a real sense of where Japan is going, or the fact that, yes, it's realistically, yes, not as dangerous as the US or Europe, but it's got its own little unique crimes and pedophiles and things that they should watch out for. But yeah, in general, in conclusion, yes, it's a safe country.
Yeah, definitely. I think Japan is very safe. Now, you also have to take into account that if you're in bigger cities or if you're in parts of town that are, quote unquote, the bad part of town, yes, you're going to probably run into some trouble every now and again. Overall, though, I think Japan is a very safe country. Also, don't take that for granted. Don't just assume that, oh, well, Japan's very safe, so I can kind of just do whatever I want, or, I don't have to worry about protecting myself or keeping myself safe. We are living in a world where tragedies happen, where people commit crimes. Japan is definitely not crime-free. Yes, it is lower crime rates, and yes, it is safer, but crime still happens. So, but I would say on a daily basis, I honestly don't worry or don't even think about things that, in the States, I would have definitely been like, wow, this is an odd situation for me to be in. I should probably be looking over my shoulder. In Japan, I just kind of go on with my day and don't think about it, which may or may not be a good thing.
From my point of view, is Japan safe? And that's a very easy yes. Having lived in the U.S. mostly in between St. Louis and Chicago, yeah, this is a very, very safe country. Not to say that there is no crime here. Of course, crime happens, murders happen, robberies happen, break-ins happen, but not anything like what you can find in other parts of the world. So do not consider yourself in any real danger here. There's not a whole lot of bad areas. Like, you have to do your research if moving to a new city or town back in the U.S. You have a lot more room coming over here. So yes, Japan is a very, very safe place.
What is your experience or opinion of safety in Japan? Let us know your thoughts and comments by visiting JQNA on Facebook at facebook.com/JQNA podcast. Also, be sure to check out the show notes for this episode by visiting kittydoesjapan.com/JQNA. There you'll find links to articles and resources about crime rates in Japan. I've also included some tips about how to keep yourself safe if you're living in, moving to, or visiting Japan. You'll also find details about Season 2 of JQNA. Over the holiday, I announced the title of our next season, which will be Married with Children in Japan, and I've also began to secure the cast. We've got some returning guests and some new people who I'm sure you'll enjoy hearing from. Next week on JQNA, we're talking about the best and worst things about Japan. I'm excited to see what everyone has to say, and I hope you are too. Thank you again for listening to JQNA. On behalf of myself and the cast, we hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll see you again next time.